Hey, so perhaps you are thinking of starting a business or you run a business and you're looking to grow it. Well, in either case, this video right here is probably going to be the most relevant video to you on YouTube that you'll find in the next little while, or it'll be super relevant to you in about 6 months. But if you watch it now and you watch it again in 6 months, it'll have very different meanings. It's like one of those movies. And this is all towards helping you become someone actually who builds a life that is beyond everyone's imagination, even your own. So I start these videos off with a bunch of proof and social proof and screenshots and so on and so forth. So in the last 30 days on one leg of the total enterprise, so the educational leg, we did $32,000 USD cash in, $45,000 gross, including $10,000 on a wire that isn't shown here in these charts on a brand new offer to a very private list. Did not run ads to this. This is the educational leg. As promised, I'd be documenting how I'd be scaling this so that you guys can see me do this again for the second time on YouTube in real time. The point being, this is not about me. This is about you. The point being, this could be your reality in about 6 to 12 months. And all of these videos are the no fluff, no BS reality of what it took to get here and what it takes to take this even further. Okay, so this will be a 2 to 3 part series of videos. So about 40 grand or 45 grand worth of the lessons. So we pulled in about $25,000 worth of deals in one night. If you look at this chart, we did an $11,000 day, which is pretty cool. But this really is beyond the money. This is an honest and clear view of what your life will look like, or what it will likely look like at this point. And for a lot of you, that's only, again, about 6 to 12 months away. You are only ever 6 to 12 months away from everything changing in your life as you know it. This is also a documentation of what I'm learning in real time, because I don't know everything. And this is a documentation of what I'm learning in real time for the ones who might be following right behind me. So also, in this series of videos, I'll be talking about the business strategy behind what we're doing as we scale this new offer and new leg of the total enterprise in parallel to the agency from the ground up. This will also show you the reality of scaling, as often you will have to scale down temporarily in order to scale further up and go faster. And also, in the series of videos, I'll be touching on the cold email piece and the deal generation piece of how we're continuing to do these deals using cold email as a client acquisition channel, using AI tools, and along with the new tools that we are using that we're finding is working really well. So with that being said, today we begin again with the mindset. So we can consider this season 2. I know I disappeared for about 2 weeks. I had to hold off on continuing my night gig as a YouTuber. Okay, I've been busy being a founder, and running and building a business. But we came back and we made a lot of money in cash. Okay, so this is a collection of thoughts, notes, and journal entries spanning the last 2 weeks in scaling the enterprise, more specifically scaling the education leg of the enterprise. If you can understand why is this important? Because if you can understand who you need to be and what you need to be focused on building in your character, the money will come as a byproduct. Okay, so we will start with the high level strategy and character development because they are essentially one and the same. When you expand your mind, you expand your strategy. And it becomes a lot more precise, efficient, and lethal. And then we from there we work our way from the top down into tactics. So we start with the high level strategy and the identity piece, because you got to see yourself as the person who does this quite naturally and routinely. Sustain that for a few months or so, and then it happens. And the tactics, the strategy will reveal itself. You'll sort of figure out what to do. You'll somehow, even in your mistakes, end up in the right places. But we'll talk about tactics as we go on, okay? In the videos that follow this. Full disclosure, this is literally from my notes app on my iPhone. This is going to be a bit disjointed, but just stay with me, okay? If I can help you envision in excruciating detail what the different aspects of your life might be like on your way to your goals, including the hard parts that nobody ever talks about. So this is no Lambo in my garage thing. There's no Miami penthouse. This is just, I'm going to show you everything. If I can help you envision in excruciating detail what the different aspects of your life might be like on your way to your goals, including the hard parts, and the parts that nobody wants to talk about, the parts where you have to lose money, the parts where you have to scale down, It doesn't always look like going from 10K one month to 20K the next month to 30K the next month. It dips. If I can show you this, you will not only be able to build this life you want faster, but when it presents itself, when that opportunity comes because it's coming, when the money comes because it's coming, the tables always turn. And when your time comes, as a result of you building it, you will be able to rise to the occasion and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And you will somehow just know what to do because you're trained for it. Now, I will be the first one to say, it gets harder as you go up. It gets harder as you make more money. And that's not a coincidence, because what entrepreneurship is, everybody wants to start a business. But what entrepreneurship really is the greatest endeavor of self-mastery. It's the greatest challenge, test, path of self-mastery, because when you are running a business, especially when you have less than 5 employees, as do I, you're not ever going to have business problems. You're having you problems. It's never the model. It's never the program. It's never the tools. It is you and your willingness to stick through it. Your willingness to figure it out. Your willingness to not figure it out. How quickly you allow yourself to quit things and get bored. And so with that being said, the folks that I run into who jump on calls with me through my YouTube channel, almost always in every case are hyper intelligent, very professional. And so with that being said, what matters a lot is not your ability to master the technical side, because most of you can do that in about 2 weeks. What matters a lot is the maturity and the maturity of your choices, what you do with the money, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. And often this will come from experience. Starting a business and having it fail, at least going through one of those cycles. But to develop this experience, you must go into the fire, and you can't avoid going into the fire. So sometimes, actually, it is always a really good thing for you to fail, quote unquote. It is always a really good thing for you to start a business and not have it go your way. It's always a really good thing for you to start a business, make a lot of money, and then lose it. I know everybody's petrified of that outcome, but it actually makes you a really, really lethal entrepreneur and someone who nobody else wants to compete against. But anyway, I digress. So today I'm recording this on Thursday, November 6th, by the way. You guys might be seeing this tomorrow on a Friday. This has been my calendar for the last few days. If you can just look at this, the main things I want to emphasize are the fact that it goes from 3:30 or 4 in the morning to about 7:30. Everybody wants to talk about the money you make in a month. And I start this to sort of draw you in and draw your attention, because I know results speak louder than anything, any yapping ever could. But this is also the reality of what I'm doing every day, of what my life looks like every day as a founder of a business. And I'm trying to put this on a calendar. I used to write down hour by hour what I did every day. But this is what life looks like, and these days are long, right? I'm not saying this has to be your situation. There are ways to run a much easier lifestyle, but like I just said, there is a period of your business in which you can't avoid doing this part. You have to make your bones. So they're going to talk about, oh yeah, scale to 40, 50, 60K a month. Something you got to think about is, what does your life look like at that dollar amount? The good thing for me is I love my days, and I just hired a team, which I'll talk about in a second, but I love working with these people. I love working with my team. So my days are very enjoyable. And also I have a genuine passion on the education side for educating people and helping play a part in their success story, watching them get frustrated, but then mold themselves into better versions of themselves with thicker skin and more expansive mindsets and characters. I like that piece. But let's not skip over the fact that this doesn't just fall from the sky. This is what it looks like when you're actively building the life you want. That's the key. The life doesn't happen. You build it as a co-creator of your life. So we talked about the fact that what matters a lot is the maturity of your choices, right? You're going to need a lot more maturity. The more money you start to make, the more mature you need to be. Think of like the child Disney stars who come into this large degree of fame and money really early on in their lives, and then they fumble it and they self-destruct. That's kind of what happens to entrepreneurs their first time around. When they see a spike of revenue, they spend it, they lose it, they go buy dumb stuff, which happened to me. I've commented on this quite a few times. So if we're talking about 45 grand a month, or in the last 30 days on one offer, right? That is a Rolex. That's a couple Rolexes, depending on which model. So I could have bought a couple Rolexes this month. It's not an exaggeration, by the way. The money is right here. Okay, so I could, like, the ego is what I'm trying to say, says that I could have bought a Rolex this month. The ego says I could have bought a new car. Could have bought a couple new cars, depending on what the model is. I could have put a down payment on a new apartment. We made $11K in a day. I could have went and bought whatever it is. But instead, because of maturity, because I've had I've had one business fail and I've exited, I just decided to stop doing the second one. But because there's been that maturity of having made a substantial amount of money and then having spent it all and my own neglect, the maturity allowed me to think about how to make this more sustainable. And the best way to do that was to hire really strong talent, not buy a Rolex. So instead of going shopping, I hired a team, and I hired the best possible executive assistant I could find on the planet. I also hired the best copywriter I could find on the planet. And they're amazing people. If you guys are watching this, shout out to you. But the reason why I did that is because maturity has told me and taught me, and if you're watching this, please learn from my mistakes. Maturity has taught me and experience has taught me that my capacity, especially with this current structure of a business, my capacity to generate money stops at about 80K a month. Meaning if I really push it, meaning if I really dial down and be super on point with my time and my time management, we could probably take this on this one offer to 80K. I would just turn on ads. That's what I would really do. Like I would keep everything the same. The funnel's all built out and whatever. The only difference is I wouldn't just be relying on organic or doing cold email. I would just turn on ads at this point because we have the cash reserves and the capital. But of course, it's one thing to get clients. It's another thing to get them results, and you have to fulfill. And that's what everybody forgets. Everybody wants to sell an offer, but like you gotta really care about the people you serve. And it's not just cash grabs, which also comes from the maturity. So my capacity with my current structure stops at about $80,000 a month if I really push it, which is about $1 million a year. Cool. There is no way I make $100,000 a month consistently on my own unless I tear the business down and do something totally different. So tear the business down, maybe become some kind of like influencer or public speaker or whatever it is, or I just come up with like a really like a premium offer. Like just really stick with the agency offer and maybe a couple, I'm talking about on my own, like with no employees. With no employees. It would be very, very difficult. No contractors. So you have to think about this. Okay, think deeply. Hopefully you have a plan. I encourage you to make a plan about what to do when the money comes. Trust that plan. Refer back to the plan when the money starts to come in, because it will come in probably sooner than you think. But I promise you we will get back to this later in this video. So now let me say this. And Alex Hormozi tweeted it out the other day. Forgive me, I forgot to link it in this document. But just to keep you grounded, okay? If and when this becomes your reality right here, you don't have to do the rich thing. It's 2025. Cool. Like the here in my garage days people are over that. So let me be more specific. You don't need to buy the Lambo. You don't need to buy the Lamborghini. You don't need to rent the penthouse. You don't need to do any of that. Please don't feel pressured to do any of that, especially if you are marketing yourself on social media like LinkedIn or Twitter or TikTok or whatever. You don't need to do any of that. The people and business owners who actually have money, the money to pay you, the money that you want, if we're talking about these, $10,000 days, or sorry, $11,000 days, and these gigantic deals we talk about on this channel, the people who have the money and the business owners who have the money to dish out to you are not impressed by those things. They are, and again, this is paraphrasing Alex Hormozy because it's true. They are impressed by exceptional displays of character. So, for example, consistency, professionalism, and they are impressed by results. If not results, then your willingness to try and get results. The fact that you would go out of your way to provide a great client experience, speed to response, things like that. That's what they are impressed by. They're not impressed by the Lamborghini. So for example, when you go into, if you've ever gone into a designer store, I was talking to my team about this. When you go into a store, if you've ever shopped at like a Louis Vuitton or whatever it is, they assign you a personal shopper, a personal agent. And that personal agent, that personal shopper gives you their personal cell phone number and texts you and texts you throughout the year to let you know about the newest arrivals and stuff like that. And, if you know, you know. And so what happens is you act like you think you like the Louis Vuitton item or the designer item, but what you were probably enamored with even more was the experience and how you were treated. The fact that you were greeted at the door by someone in a nice suit or whatever it is, and addressed by your first name, and they brought you some water, and they took you around and showed you the private collection. That is what people with money are picking up on from the time you email them, since we talk about cold email on this channel. The people who will clap for you because you bought the Mercedes-Benz or the G-Wagon do not have the money to pay you. They don't. They don't. For by and large, of course, there are always exceptions. Yeah, you can argue about this in the comments. That's fine. But by and large, this is true. So I don't know if you realize this, but I've been able to get quite far with just a white T-shirt or a black T-shirt, or you know what I mean. This is not. Don't get lost in this stuff. I purposely have not bought a new car. I don't do the thing. Not that I can't. It's just. I never want you to feel, as someone who watches my videos, that you have to do the thing. You can see my life progressing right here. If you just scroll from oldest and watch all the way through when I was making these videos with a dress shirt on for my clients. Cool. All right. Because no one's going to talk about this stuff. They talk about this like, oh, like you got to get an AI and make it rain and then buy a G-Wagon and then sell a course. No. Be professional. Get results. Work on your character. Show people that you're trying. Show people that you're learning. That you can go and gather information and synthesize it and then articulate it and then help other people. And then do that over and over again and show people that you're willing to show up and be consistent. And if you disappear like 2 weeks like I did, come back and show the results. You don't have to publicize this on social media. I'm just saying, in your character. People pick up on this stuff. Cool? So that was really, really important for me to share. Now, in that same breath, and I'm talking to my old self here, you need a team. You want to reach these heights and make this kind of money, you absolutely can, but you need a team. Having a team is like having, instead of 2 hands, it's like having 4 hands or 8 hands or 2 brains. It's having twice the energy. Imagine you being in 2 places at once. That's what a team is. If you could clone yourself. And of course, hiring people is a skill that I'm actively learning right now. And leadership is a skill that I'm actively working on right now. But point being, you need a team. That Rolex is not going to do anything for you. It might be a little like brand thing. But you need a team. You can't be everybody. This is what took me so long to learn. I went through 2 businesses being the solo operator. So for the last 2 years, and I just now hired a team. It just now clicked, and the difference was immediate. It was immediate. You need a team. You can't be everybody. If you think you can, I promise you, you are not there yet mentally in terms of the kind of person who makes the amount of money you want. And that's a question that I'll ask you to consider and ponder on is, don't focus so much on how you're going to get the money. Think about who you have to become and that person in your character traits. And then that person, the most consistent version of you, the most relentless, persistent version of you, that version of you naturally does the things, puts themselves in the places, grabs the books, does the research, does the outreach that you need to do that gets you to the money at the pace and the volume that it takes. The only way when you do get to bringing on a team, the only way your team will trust you, we're talking about A players here because I assume you're not going to go and hire some run-of-the-mill talent. The only way your team will trust you is if you are fearless, you yourself, but also honest and when you don't know what you're doing. So I hired 2 folks, my copywriter. I say my copywriter, I don't possess them, but I brought on a really talented copywriter and a really talented executive assistant. And in both instances, especially with my executive assistant, I was very honest in saying, I don't know what I'm doing in this realm. And I've never hired someone before. And you have to be honest about that. Just like in these videos, I will come here and say, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to X, Y, and Z, or I'm coming to this with me documenting very recent results, but also being honest in the fact that maybe I don't know how to get to the next level yet, but I'm learning and I'm trying. And I come back and show you what works and what doesn't. So be honest, because honesty, honest business goes so far. When I jump on when I jump on calls with people, if you've been on a call with me, you know this. At the very start of the call, I say I've been very upfront. I'm like, I'm not going to try and sell you anything, even though there might be an offer on the table. I'm not going to try and do the salesy thing. I don't try and convince you or coerce you into anything. I'm just going to ask you questions and see if I can help, or if you even want what I might be able to offer you. I say that in some way, shape, or form. And again, if you've been on a call, you can attest to this. Not that it makes me special or better. It's just honest business goes such a long way. Such a long way. Now, next. People get nervous. You might get nervous when the money starts coming in and when things start going up, because it's going to happen really quickly. It's almost like it doesn't happen for forever and then it happens all at once, sort of thing. Someone said that. That's not an original Pablo quote. So someone else said that. I don't know who. But it's like a plane, right? It's like a plane taking off, and I can relate to this. I know it makes you nervous when it actually happens. Like you think you know what you're going to do, and then the money starts coming in. It'll be like 5K this month, then it'll jump to 15, then it'll jump to 35, then 45. And it's happening so quickly, and it's taking off. And perhaps it's breaking the plan that you had written down. And it's like a plane taking off. I know it makes you nervous because it makes me nervous. Still, it never doesn't make you nervous, especially when it happens that quickly. And I want you to remember that you are nervous because you care, which is good. But if your intention is to keep things going up, you will keep going up. It's like if your intention is to turn the car left, you're going to turn the car left. If your intention is to keep the plane going up and keep taking off, that's what's naturally going to happen. You go where your energy goes or your focus goes. So you'll be fine. 1 or 2 or 3 small mistakes you're going to be fine. You're not going to get crucified. People mess up when they take their sights off of the end thing or off of being the person they're supposed to be or off of the end thing they want, and they get distracted by something else. Insert here. That's when people mess up. It's like the plane is supposed to be going up this way, but then they're looking out the window at the view. Of course, the plane's going to start veering to the left. Or it's like a car, like you're driving your car, but you get distracted by the car accident. And you start steering off outside of the lane. That's just keep your intention. Keep your intention of going up or progressing, and you're going to be fine. You're allowed to make mistakes. It's allowed to go from 5K one month to 10K the next month, down to 8K the third month, and then up to 12K the fourth month. It's allowed to be like that because that's life. That's life. Does this look stable to you? No. Granted, I'm not running ads, and I for that period in between the spikes, I was preparing for the webinar. But still, look at the total. Just zoom out. You're not going to get crucified. Everything looks like that. My YouTube analytics, my life, period, and so does yours. Next, on the topic of team members, because this is what you have to prepare for. If you don't have a team, if you do have a team, well then, this is the realest stuff ever. You don't get to mess around when you have a team. You might get away with messing around when you work on your own. But like, you don't get to mess around when you have a team, because you have a fiduciary duty, a responsibility. I like the word fiduciary. It's fancy for no reason. You have a fiduciary duty to make sure that they are taken care of. And how you get to that point of having employees, because it should be something you take pride in, because you work towards it. Not everybody can say, like, maybe 1% of business owners can say that they have staff. You'd know if you just look up in Apollo how many businesses exist out there with one person. But how you get to this point is by not messing around in the first place from 0 to, let's say, 20K a month, when you might be considering hiring a team. So we did Sunday numbers last Sunday. And in October, I took about $500 out of the business, the education company, for personal expenses. Meaning, in other words, I paid myself $500 for the month out of like 45,000, something like that, from, again, the education leg. I can do that because, full disclosure, the agency and how it cash flows into business, plus we have cash reserves. But this is the bigger picture here. This is about discipline. I'm not going again and doing the thing. Just because I made 40 bags or 45 bags or whatever it is off this offer does not mean I'm living a 40 or 45 grand a month lifestyle. And that is how you grow a business. If you want to create this wealth vehicle, you gotta pour the money you get back into it. And then it snowballs. Stay focused on that. Don't tap out early. Don't get off the wealth elevator early. Stay until you get up to the penthouse. And that discipline only stays in place if your why is deep enough to care about every day, every single day. Not just today, not next week, not 2 weeks from now, but 6 months from now. Now, the next thing is it's so critically important that you make decisions from the end point. So think about how much money you make in the reality that you want, and how that person treats money, how that person operates, how that person treats people, treats themselves, how that person runs their business, the kind of day-to-day they have, and make decisions from that endpoint, how that person invests money. So that version of you makes a very different set of choices and is not scared to move money around. But they are also likely more shrewd, more calculated. Think from that standpoint. Don't think about what life looks like at 10 grand a month. Think about what it could look like at 100 grand a month. Like, what business ideas do you have at that point? What are your goals at that point? How much easier is it to buy a house at that point? Expand your mind in that way. It just makes for a better series of ideas. Now, if you want results, take yourself seriously. And the appropriate results will come. That is a law. If you want people to take you seriously in business, take yourself seriously. Nobody takes you seriously until you start taking yourself seriously. Nobody took me seriously until I started taking myself seriously and showed them over and over and over again that I would be back every single day. That I'd be sending them an email, or I'd be posting on LinkedIn, or I'd be posting on YouTube every single day. They didn't take me seriously for the first week or the first month or whatever it might be, or the first business. But you keep coming back because you take yourself seriously, because you're betting on yourself, you're betting on your talent, because that life you're trying to build is worth it. Because the people around you experiencing the things you want for them is worth it. Take yourself seriously because nobody else believes in you to the degree that you have to believe in yourself. Perhaps there is some belief in you, but nobody Nobody can see the things or want for you the things that you need to want for yourself in order for you to make it happen. Forgive me for getting motivational video on you, but I've gone into the dark, extracted the truths that apply and are most applicable at this amount of income a month, and I'm bringing them back to you. That is all. Now, on the topic of a team, and I think we'll end the team stuff here, I believe. Your team will go to war for you. If you pick the right people, they will go to war for you. They will protect you. They will go to bat for you, but you have to be able to go to war for them. You have to demonstrate that you're willing to go to war for them. You only get a good team if you've demonstrated that you are willing to stay and be on the front lines by yourself, for yourself, first, for a long period of time. Meaning, if I didn't show up every day for however many 100+ days in a row, there would be, maybe I'd be able to hire someone because of pure cash reserves, but there wouldn't be this belief in the vision that there is right now. Same thing for you. You don't know what life, you don't know what God is prepping you for. Just show up. And it will all make sense. None of this goes to waste. Next, rapid fire. Strike before you're ready. That, just make that a mantra. Strike before you're ready. Send the email before you're ready. Post the YouTube video before you're ready. Post a LinkedIn post before you're ready. Have the conversation before you're ready. Make the cold call before you're ready. Just do it. Nike. No sponsorship. Next, selling to broke versus selling to rich people is very, very different. And I've been reminded of that in the last couple of weeks. So when you're selling to, let's just call it the general masses, the general population. And thank you, Jeremy Haynes, for the endless, abundant content on this. When selling to the masses, they need or selling to broke people, they need as much information as humanly possible. So that 7-hour free course, prime example. And then after that, they will probably go and watch another 7-hour course on some other YouTube channel. They need as much information as possible in order to get somewhat comfortable in making a decision. You can call these people the skeptics. Most people in the mass population are skeptics. And that's why they stay just the average population, because they don't do anything. When selling to affluent people or the rich, they don't need an abundance of information. They need just enough information to strike and nothing more. They actually don't want to be overwhelmed with information because they know what they need. The general population hates taking risks. Affluent people take risks for a living. They gamble for a living. Again, credits due to Jeremy Haynes for framing it in this way. Next lesson, do good business always. We hinted on this earlier in this video. Do good business always. You don't know who is a future client. I reached out to, I'm going to keep them anonymous, a somewhat YouTube famous, not even YouTube famous, a somewhat popular service provider in a specific niche in YouTube. Let's just say that, to be respectful. Booked a call with them. They canceled the call with no explanation half an hour prior to the call, and I had rearranged my entire afternoon. Again, my calendar typically looks like this, so you can imagine how inconvenient that was. Without any prior warning or explanation, they canceled the call half an hour leading up to the call. Reached out to them via Instagram DM, the two co-founders both individually, figure out what happened. One co-founder got back to me and said that they're not taking on any clients. The next co-founder reached out to me and said that they were only taking 6-figure a month clients. Again, left me hanging, didn't get back to me until after about 3 hours later after the meeting was supposed to happen. Okay. Little do they know that if I were to turn on ads right now, and this is not an exaggeration, I'd be a 6-figure a month. What do you call it? 6-figure a month, whatever, client, coach, consultant, whatever, just through the educational leg. I don't even wear that hat, but sure. But they just lost a future client. So you don't know who's a future client, so treat everybody with respect and do good business always. The world, especially the online world and the B2B space is smaller than you think. Next, how you get ahead on the same train of thought. How you get ahead in business, again, is not by being the most skilled person in the world. How you get ahead is through professionalism. If you want the hack of how I'm able to do things or generate attention or whatever it is, it's through professionalism. This is why, as much as I despised going to school and working corporate jobs, one thing it did was allowed me to understand what professionalism really is and what that really looks like. And for those of you who have been on calls with me, if you know, I've complimented a lot of you on your professionalism because it stands out, and I want you to know that it stands out and that is going to be your edge. It's not how good you are at cold email. It's your professionalism, your speed to response, your structure. Do you got a proposal? Do you got a deck? You know what I mean? So how you get ahead when everybody has the skill and access to the AI tools is through your professionalism. And do not confuse this with, you know, bending your rules and going out of your way, for example, to tend to people, because then they will just bully you and take advantage of you. I'm talking about your clients. And we'll talk more about structure later. Next, this is a big one for a lot of people. You won't get every client results. In the education leg, I'm offering these programs, Dealmaker Accelerator Inspector, which are super refined, incredibly comprehensive programs that I'm running and managing myself. Even still, I know that it's just impossible to, and I say this very upfront in every call, it's impossible to guarantee results in a certain amount of time. It's just impossible. Don't buy into anybody that says that. I will come on here and show you the reality of what it might not be. Same thing with my agency clients. You will not get every client results. If you're building a business, you got to know this. And more important than that, you cannot take it personally. You can't take it personally if you tried your best. If you try your best, that is the most you will be fine. You will be fine. Things will work out. That's fine. We can talk about how to break up with clients in another video. I believe I have. I don't even remember at this point. Your business is your wealth generating vehicle that you are creating, right? That's what it is. It's a lifestyle vehicle. It's a wealth generating vehicle that offers you now a lifestyle. You've built this lifestyle now. You've built from the ground up a reality in which your average Tuesday looks better than people's New Year's celebration. If that's what you want, I don't know what you want. But it's and it's also getting bigger and bigger. It's only going to get bigger if you continue to pour into it and add into the jar every day. But it's also your shield. It's the shield to your lifestyle. It's the shield to your time with your family. It is the shield to your bank account, to your personal life. It's the middle entity between you and the people you interact with. And provide a service to. And what I mean by all that is, do not budge on where you want that shield to be, meaning how accessible you are. Long story short, just because someone wants a little bit more access to you. Because if you bend for one person, you will never be able to recover. Right? Like if you set this is one of many examples. If you set client meetings once a week on Mondays, keep it once a week on Mondays. If it's half an hour, keep it half an hour, because the moment you start making yourself available to speak whenever a client needs you is the moment where the power dynamic, not even the power, I hate that, is the moment where leverage starts to be assumed by the other person. You will never be able to recover from this. You will have to break up with the client, or you will have to just have a very serious sit down. It doesn't have to be aggressive or anything. It can be professional, but you will have to bend for everyone, and then you're toast because you agreed to provide a service. Right? Sorry. Then you're toast. Just because you agreed to provide a service does not mean you are a slave. This is why structure is so important, and why you need to think about how often you will speak to clients, for example. How often you will be available. What is it? Is it one meeting a week? One-on-one? Whatever it is. Okay? Structure. We will continue to add to that. Next. This is so important. For the wrong client, enough is never enough. For the wrong client, enough will never be enough. Spot the signs early. You know what the wrong client looks like. Trust your gut. Just trust your gut. So much of entrepreneurship is about trusting your gut. Now that I'm offering these educational offerings, yeah, the technical know-how is there, but the success will come from those who trust their gut the most, because the answers will never always be there 100%. You got to get used to that. Now, next, and now as much as that's important, it's also even more important to only take on clients that you genuinely care about. Only taking on clients who you genuinely care to see get results. And only taking on clients who you are willing to go the extra mile for. Because if you don't, this will come back to bite you. There are going to be long days. There are going to be tough days. Clients are going to be needy. Only take on clients that you are willing to go the extra mile for, that you're willing to roll up your sleeves for. I know we just talked about structure, but this is also an element to it, and they can coexist. Next, don't ever forget why you're doing this. And if you need to reinvent a new why in order to get yourself back to your desk or keep yourself motivated, especially for those who work a 9 to 5 and then have to work on the business from 5 to 9 or 6 to 8, whatever it is, reinvent the why. That's your job. It's nobody else's job but yours. Don't ever forget why you're doing this. And if your why changes, that's fine. It's allowed to change, but you better have one, because you're going to need one. Make it up. We're adults. Next, be honest about what you want. Be honest about what you want. What do you want? I know I trashed the Lamborghini in the garage, but is that what you want? That's fine. Be honest about what you want. You might see me pop up with one day. I don't know. Don't crucify me, but like, it's not the identity is what I'm trying to say. But be honest about what you want, and be honest about your willingness to go for it. Are you actually willing to go for it? Or are you wasting everybody's time? Right? Because let me just be very clear, and I'll say this, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can do this thing. You can build this life you want in a much shorter time than you might think. So be honest about your willingness to go for it. Because if you're really willing to go for it, and if you're really willing to go for it, and you are really willing to treat this like it's an emergency, the fact that you don't have what you want yet, you can do it. It's November, December, January, February, March, April, May. By May, June, by summertime, your life looks totally different. If you just lock in, you can get there quite quickly, whatever there is, or well on your way. Most people are just not honest about how much they're willing to put up with and how much they're willing to do, and that's okay, because I had that misalignment for the longest time. That's why I was broke. Now, next, humble yourself, okay? Humble yourself. I am not in the business right now. I'm not above doing anything. I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and do really, really basic stuff. If you scroll back to my oldest videos, you go on my channel and sort by oldest. Not that you have to, but I'm just saying. I'm just using myself, and I don't like talking about myself, but I can only use myself as an example, because it's just the results I've been able to create. Okay, sorry. But I used to iron my dress shirt, my white dress shirt. It's over there. Before turning on my webcam on my MacBook Air that I'm using right now to make videos. I say that to say this is how bad I wanted it. Right? This thing right here, the stripe statements. Let's talk about what goes into this and what's behind it. They sell you on the business model. Cool. So do I. I'll put up videos about like the hottest business model. Yeah, but I'm also going to tell you this stuff. I'm going to tell you who you have to become and what your life is probably going to look like. Because the most important thing for me is, apart from getting you results, is your trust, and just to maintain an honest atmosphere here. I used to iron my dress shirt before turning on my webcam to make videos. This is how bad I wanted it. I hope you understand the difference now. Unless you're willing to do that, or some analogy of that, or rearrangement of that. Yeah. In the master class, like I showed the mattress I slept on. When I was building this business and my last business, my health and wellness business. I don't ever want to mislead you is all I'm trying to say. Next, entrepreneurship is gambling. I don't gamble. I don't think I've ever gambled. I've maybe played like, I don't even know, maybe a slot once. But entrepreneurship is gambling. Okay. It is. If you want something, I say that in the sense that like things aren't always certain. Oftentimes you're going to be moving around not knowing what you're doing or not having all the answers, but you got to strike anyway. If you want something certain, that is fine, but go get a job. That doesn't make you less than. It's just for a certain kind of person. A certain kind of person succeeds in entrepreneurship. The good thing is you can mold yourself into that person, but don't expect to have all the answers. It's very entitled. Next, the most powerful word in the English language besides the word no is the word conviction. With conviction, you can bend reality. People don't pay the most competent, they pay those with the most conviction. People don't pay me because I'm the most competent or skilled AI entrepreneur or cold emailer or copywriter in the world. The copywriter I hired is far and away a better copywriter than I am. People pay me because I have conviction. That's the in-between thing. Like if it's conviction. It's conviction. It doesn't take a genius to have conviction. Actually, most people who have conviction are the C students because the C students were too dumb to doubt themselves. It's a very ignorant statement. Forgive me. But you know what I'm trying to get at. Next, you will not get far if you don't have structure. So this is part 2 of the structure. You can get away with it until about $30K a month. And then you need absolute bulletproof, clear cut, very obvious structure that you never stop refining with clear processes, clear who does what, i.e. delegation, clear structure across the board from the time you wake up and brush your teeth to the meal you eat to your calendar, and you get someone to continue working on that structure. Listen to me, please. You won't have time to be thinking about things when you're making this amount of money. You won't. So you need structure. The only reason I got here, the only reason you will get here is because of structure. This is why I don't do the thing. I don't want to be caught up in what we're going to buy at the mall today. I wear white t-shirts and black you don't got to be me. Be your own version of this. Be your own version of this. But this is why I don't get my hair is always just buzzed. It doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? I don't want to like go too far, but like structure, okay? You don't got to do the whole minimalism thing. Don't let me mislead you in that route either. I'm just saying you just need structure. You won't have time to be thinking about things. Next, everything in the business is your fault. Everything in business is your fault. Sooner you can accept that, faster you grow. Almost overnight. It's not the tools. It's not the fact that Apollo stopped allowing scrapers. It's not the cold email going to spam. It's not the fact that the model doesn't work or your copy or whatever it is. Or, I'm not trying to duck responsibility here, but it's not I'm trying to train you here. It's not your coach's fault. It's not your client's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your employee's fault. It's not your team's fault. Everything in the business is your fault. Especially, again, when you have less than 5 employees, maybe even 10, especially less than 5. You don't have business problems. You have you problems. Look within. The answers are always within. Next, I don't know how I feel about this point right now, so I'll come back to it some other day. I read this really cool, I think this was on Twitter. I saw this. It's a really cool post that says pressure and responsibility rises with status and power. So you want the status and power of saying, oh yeah, I made this much money a month. Okay, cool. You want that? You want the power that comes with it? Which is we say power, but it's really just the ability to provide for people around you and have a more expanded set of choices. But with that comes added pressure and responsibility. You must accept this and learn how to handle this pressure because genius and madness are linked. Stress and success are linked. Love and loss are linked. You cannot escape this duality. Every reward comes with a risk. This is the paradox of success. So to go through what they had to, I think about this a lot. You know, what you have, like if you look at the people who have success, what they had to sacrifice and what they had to put themselves through each and every day, not just to maintain it, but to multiply it. And this applies to you too. The things you have to go through, what you have had to sacrifice, and what you have to put yourself through each and every day to not just maintain the money or to attain the money, but to multiply it. Very few people understand that. And it also means you have to be ready to go back into the fire, to go back into the dark, to go back into the quiet place over and over again. It doesn't have to sound that scary or be that brutal. It's not. But what it is a constant, never-ending path of self-mastery and challenging yourself. Now, I get a lot of people who come on calls, especially when they want to discuss mentorship and stuff. They ask me for like a typical timeline, right? Like, how fast do you think I can scale to 20K a month? I mean, I can do that in 30 days. I think I've demonstrated that enough. But what I would say, which is probably a more healthy option, not to dodge the question, this is actually offering you the most real answer after having thought about this for a few days. Instead of asking me for a typical timeline, I would encourage you to just set a deadline for yourself. How soon do you want to make 20K a month? Set the deadline. And even if you don't hit it, I guarantee you will be much further ahead than you thought. Your brain will start to just think of ways and see paths and get more creative. I also saw this really cool picture. I'm going to try and zoom out for you. It says, you must believe you are the one. You must believe you are the one. It looks like it's in New York. But that's very true. You must believe you are the one. If not, you're gonna get smacked all over the place. Especially in entrepreneurship. Especially in entrepreneurship. Now, as you go and as you build this thing, remember that you are creating a business. You're starting a business so that you can have the life that you want. So that you can intentionally and purposely design and create the life you want. Because no one else, especially your manager at whatever company you work for, is going to build it for you. I think you realize that. They're not going to give it to you. In fact, you're only there. Your only purpose there, if you're working a corporate job, is to make the owner of that company rich. It's your only purpose. Unless you have equity in the company, right? Or you're there as like a contractor or something like that. But even still. So check in with yourself. And maybe this is your life's purpose. So let me not act like I'm pooping on corporate professionals, because I was one many times over. And for a lot of people, that's their path. They're exceptional at it, right? A lot of people want to be, I don't know, a doctor, lawyer, banker, so on and so forth. So sorry if it comes off that way. But anyway, the point of all this is to check in with yourself and with your lifestyle. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself as you're building this business, is this what I thought I wanted my life to look like? Is this going in the direction I want? Or am I sacrificing that because I'm neglecting the fact I have not added the structure I should have. So now, like, what I thought would be a beautiful life is actually, I've just made myself another job, for example, right? So we get into business, we get into this business thing to build a life we love, not a life we hate. So remember that. Next, the biggest shocker for folks who are in corporate looking to start their own business is the amount of ambiguity, uncertainty, and lack of structure and lack of foresight that exists in entrepreneurship. That's a long-winded way of saying half the time you don't even know the answers. Half the time I don't even know the answers. You realize that corporate was all an illusion, that it gives you structure, and that it made you very entitled to think that this will always be the case. You will have none of those things in this world, in the whole entrepreneurship world. You will only succeed if you can operate with 40 to 60% of the information that you feel like you actually need, and not complain about it. Why? Because complaining robs your energy. It actually is exhausting to complain, especially because the person you're complaining to is not going to be able to do anything about it, and it slows you down. Complaining because you are spending time wishing things were different while you could actually just be resolving it to the situation. Cool. All right. Next, this is Jeremy Haynes' tweet that says, "You are not going to take big risks until you view the outcome as something you deserve." Very true. Very true. Most people haven't convinced themselves yet. They think $1 million a month, for example, is luck. It's not. It's just a series of large bets that repeat monthly. Think about that. Now, wrapping up, I just genuinely, after having observed a lot of other business owners, folks on YouTube, on calls and stuff like that, I just genuinely don't think that people want it enough. And I say this not to gaslight anyone. I say this because I think of myself now versus myself a year ago. When I thought I wanted it really bad, I really didn't, because I could sleep at night very soundly. Now I can barely sleep. Now I can barely sleep at night. It's actually quite concerning, to be honest with you. So again, it's something you gotta take your place. You gotta take yourself to a place mentally where you treat this as though it's an emergency. The fact that you don't have what you want, because there are people your age living the life you want. Again, your whole life can change in about 6 to 12 months. Cool. All right. Now, when you get to, we talked about this dollar amount, right? When you get to the amount of money you want, when you get to the money, because it will come. Again, guys, life is very cyclical. When you get that money, when you get to that amount, do whatever you have to do, or tell yourself whatever you have to tell yourself to convince yourself, to remind yourself that the job is not done before you go and buy the Rolex. Job ain't done. I mean that. I don't mean it just like a motivational thing. I mean that. Do not stop, because I've done that before, and that's when I lost it all. I literally spent it all. It's amazing how that happens. Do not stop. Do not tell anyone. Don't tell people. Don't tell people. Like, don't fall in love with walking in the room and telling your friends or your family how much you made. Don't do that. It takes whatever motivation you got, going behind you, the wind in your back. Don't do that. And I know I'm being a bit hypocritical right now because I literally just showed my finances, but it's really just for this 10 to 30 minutes of my, or 30 to 60 minutes of my 24-hour day. Other than that, in my regular day-to-day life, even to my own family, this is not something I really discuss, at least not in major detail. Not because they're bad people or they have bad intentions, not at all. I'm not talking about my family, by the way. I'm talking about like people in public. This is not something I discuss because it slows down your momentum. And also, to people outside of your loved ones, jealousy is a thing. You'd be surprised as to who's watching you. But you can handle that. You can handle the jealousy piece. You guys are adults. You're old enough. You're mature enough. You can handle the lack of momentum. You can handle that stuff. But what really matters here and what's crucial is it's about your own momentum. Your own momentum, right? Meaning you can't allow your brain to feel like the job has been done, that it's over. You got to keep yourself in the thing because it's a snowball. Keep going until your life is fully set and some. Then you can take yourself off the gas. Your foot off the gas. It's this paradox of success again, like the genius and madness are linked. The status, but also the pressure, the money, but the pressure are linked. That's the paradox. That you have to keep yourself in the game. You have to bring yourself back to that place that really motivated you to get the money in the first place. Think about all those times where you hated your job, just as one of many examples, or all the times where you went broke. Be frugal. You're allowed to be frugal. You're allowed to be a cheapskate. Reinvest into the business. I get very nervous. It's a very telltale sign that that someone is going to go under business-wise when I see them on Twitter or on social media. They bought the Ferrari or they're going on the vacations or whatever it is. That's only a branding thing for so long. You can only take so many Instagram pictures. If your brand is built off of that, you become a commodity. There are so many people doing the Instagram pictures in Turks and Caicos. There's very few people who are actually like known because of their skill or their ability to get results documented. If you're going to build your brand around something, build it around your professionalism, your personality. Now, to the beginners out there, let me be very upfront in saying, if I haven't made this clear enough, including right now, I am never not nervous. I don't know what I'm doing 50% of the time. I don't. My team will tell you. I'm honest about this with myself. I'm honest about this with my team. But God will not crucify you for making mistakes. Okay? Your business is not going to collapse if you make a little mistake and you work with the wrong client, or like you got sick and so you couldn't do your outreach or whatever it is. You're going to be okay. You're not going to get crucified. Okay? You'll figure it out. You will. God will not crucify you for making mistakes. He will only make you stronger, sharper, wiser, and take you to where you are trying to go anyway. It's all part of where you're trying to go anyway. These are all lessons. You're only going to get wiser. You don't get dumber. I don't know if you realize that. When you learn a skill, you don't lose it. Potential is a muscle that when it goes unused, it becomes underdeveloped. But if you're consistently trying, you're allowed to make mistakes, because what you think is a mistake is not a mistake. It's another failure. These failures, you're standing on them. Eventually, like I'm just standing on all of my failures. The only reason I can get this right is because I've gotten it wrong so many times. Your effort gets rewarded and is never lost. To end off this video, a quote from Carl Jung. An old alchemist gave the following consolation to one of his disciples. No matter how isolated you are and how lonely you feel, if you do your work truly and conscientiously, unknown friends will come and seek you. Anyway, that's all. I got nothing to sell you. You can get all my free stuff in the description, all the Notion docs. It'll put you on my email list. I won't spam you. Promise. And if you'd like to work with me on the educational side, you can hit the link in the description to get more information on how I might be able to help. That's all. See you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.